There are very divided opinions on whether a $300 billion or more plan to forgive student loan debt is a good idea. If you have debt, you probably love it. If you paid off your school loans or didn't go to college, probably not so much. It certainly makes for an interesting conversation. And that's the theme of this week's In-Depth segment with moderator Susan Godot and her guests.
Thank you, Rich. Yes, the student loan issue is burning up the news wires across America, and Oklahoma is no exception. I'd like to introduce our guest to you right now. First, we have Karen McCarthy, who is the VP for Public Policy and Federal Analysis with the National Association of Student Financial Aid Admissions in Washington, D.C. We also have Jimmy Curry, who is the president of the Oklahoma AFL-CIO. That's the American Federation of Labor and Congress of Industrial Organizations. And then we have Ashley Diagardi, who is a Pell Grant recipient when she went to college. Thank all of you for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Ashley, we are going to begin with you. How much, first of all, I want to get your reaction. What kind of student loan situation were you in when you heard the news that there was going to be debt forgiveness?
My reaction was I was very excited, but I had known the amount of debt I was in for a while now. I've been making payments since COVID. I graduated grad school in May of 2020, so we kind of were already in that pause, but there was no guarantee of what was going to happen. So I was making those payments and it was still really hard, even without that interest compounding. So when I found out about the forgiveness, I was very happy. And when I found out that I had 2 Pell Grants, I was even happier because I didn't really know what a Pell Grant was when I went to school, much like I didn't know how dealing with these massive amounts of debts was going to impact me when I started working. So,
well, before we leave you, I do want to find out, do you care to share what your debt was and how that has impacted your financial situation, your budgeting?
Yeah, so I took out 8 loans. I was in $28,000 of debt. I paid off 3 during COVID. And with this relief, I get 20 off. So I'll have about $5,000 left. And it impacts me greatly. I'm also paying off my car, trying to save for a house. I want to buy a house when I'm 30, so I have a few years to save up for it. So this is just huge and propelling me to do that next.
All right, Karen, I want to come to you. What is your reaction when you hear Ashley's story?
Yeah, I think that Ashley is a typical student who will benefit the most from the relief that is being offered. Because she received a Pell Grant, she'll receive $20,000 in loan forgiveness. And where her debt level was, that will really take out a huge chunk of her outstanding loan debt. And that was one of the rationales that the administration used when they put forward this proposal, was that people like Ashley were putting off large financial decisions, not able to save for houses and make other types of financial investments because they had this debt hanging over them.
All right, Jimmy, I want to come to you now. I know you're not anti-Ashley. I know you like her, but there are some folks who are saying, wait a minute, I decided I couldn't go to college because I could not afford it. Why are tax dollars being used to pay off student debt?
We have 2 different camps on that. I myself, believe it or not, Ashley, I had a student loan, but I've never been to college a day in my life. When I graduated high school, I went to private VOTEC. I have an A&P license to work on airplanes. But I was 18, 19 at the time that I got my student loan. They signed me up, says, don't worry about it, it'll be good. You don't have to pay it until after you get out of school and you start earning a living. They didn't tell me about the interest. They didn't tell me, or I didn't really realize that once you get out of school, you start at the bottom of the rung. You don't make that $70,000, $80,000 coming right out of school. You have to work your way up. So I personally have a lot of sympathy for those student loans, for those people that have them. Our national organization is supporting them. We have a lot of members that are very much expressed the same concern that you did, that or that you stated, that why should we have to, we didn't get them paid back, and why not? I think that that's probably the wrong way for us to look at it. I believe personally that education, at least your first 2 years out of high school, should be free. So the reason that we're getting all this debt, all this other, I think doesn't really go to the root of the problem. Our schools, our trade schools are tuition free. You can have a career and earn while you learn and evolve our trades. And it's been that way since the 1950s.
Okay, Ashley, Jimmy brings up a good point. Were the loans that you signed up for thoroughly explained to you? Did you realize what was going on when you signed up for those?
No. I was 18. I don't even remember a conversation about loans at all. I really don't even remember signing anything. I knew I was probably going to have them, but no one ever explained anything.
Karen, are there guidelines that financial aid directors at colleges and universities need to adhere to when advising students about loans?
Yes, there are. We refer to them as like consumer information requirements to make sure that certain disclosures are made to borrowers. And the first time that a student takes out a student loan, there is loan counseling that takes place. That is a requirement before you can receive the loan. There are other students similar to Ashley who don't recall going through that. And I think some of that is just that it's a challenging time. These are often incoming freshmen who are 17 or 18 years old. They need the money to pay their bills so that they can start school. There's a lot going on at that particular point in time. They are considered adults on their loans, so they go through this counseling on their own and they acknowledge that. But there is, we definitely have some efforts to kind of review all of that information that borrowers get to make sure that they're getting the information that they need to know and when they need to know it so that they can make good borrowing decisions. So, separate from the amount of the loan debt, there's the how can we help students make good decisions so that when they graduate, they are able to repay and they know what they have gotten themselves into.
Karen, one quick question. What's the payback rate on student loans right now? Do you know where that stands?
What do you mean by the payback rate? The portion
do a majority of people pay back their loans? What percentage may be behind in paying off their student loan debt?
Yes. So in the recent announcements, they had said that there are 43 million borrowers who have federally held loans who could conceivably benefit from the loan forgiveness if they qualify via the income standards.
Jamie, I want to come to you now because as students take a more serious look at the financial structure before they start college, some are saying, hey, it's better to learn a trade. You're going to make more money. Is that correct?
In some instances, yes. Our building and trade careers are apprenticeship schools, and we have 22 apprenticeship schools in Oklahoma, over 2,000 apprentices in those. They are all tuition free. They vary in length. The electricians, I believe, are a 4 to 5 year program. Plumbing and pipe fitting is a 4-year program. But these students, they go to work from day one. They have a job. And it is, like I said, it's tuition free. And they learn a career. It's not just a job. And they will have a license, a certificate at the end of it with no student debt.
What kind of a salary range could someone in those trades expect to begin at?
Right now, the electricians are, I believe, are over $32 an hour. They're looking at normally from $80,000 a year up for some of the highly skilled or licensed trades.
To start?
Once they become a journeyman.
Okay.
Our apprentices start out from day one at 50% of a journeyman's wages with full health insurance. That is a huge difference from somebody that has to go to college. And at the end of that 4 years or so, when they go to college, my electricians, my pipe fitters and all will have graduated, become journeymen and have no debt and be at the top of their pay scale.
Wow. Karen, were trades included in the student debt?
I will say that anybody who holds a federally held student loan does qualify for the loan forgiveness. So, and kind of tying this in, one of the questions that we had received is, did I have to finish my program? And the answer to that is no. So there are quite a lot of, and those are your borrowers who are at high risk of defaulting on their student loans, are the borrowers who went to school and never finished. For whatever reason, they stopped attending. They still owe those student loans back. So somebody who say enrolled in college and dropped out, realized it wasn't for them, and they decide to do something different, perhaps a trade. If they do still have that outstanding federally held student loan, they may qualify for this loan forgiveness.
Ashley, I do want to ask you, as you've listened to all of us talk, what's your reaction to people who are upset that student loan forgiveness is now available to everyone? Do you feel like people see you as privileged or getting an unfair advantage, or how does that make you feel if so?
It would be kind of like me being upset that my tax money goes to people that need food stamps, or, Social Security may be something that doesn't directly benefit me. I can't look at that and be upset because that helps other people. So at the end of the day, while I understand their point, I think if we look a little bit deeper, the issue is not the student loan forgiveness. The issue is the cost of getting a higher education. It just keeps going up. So it's unattainable to a lot of Americans.
And that's what I wanted to kind of come around to. Anyone can answer this. Is the real issue the cost of getting an education in America?
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, Ashley. And I focus on the financial aid side of the equation. So not the cost, but how we help needy students to meet those costs. So that is where our advocacy is. But I would say that there are various factors at play. Specifically, if you're talking about public institutions, you have declining state support of public institutions within the state. We also have a declining value of the federal Pell Grant over on the federal side, where it used to cover a much higher proportion of a public 4-year degree program than it does right now. So I would say there's lots of different factors at play.
So Ashley, you said it's going to give you a lot more freedom and allow you to breathe more easily. What does this freed up money, this cancellation of $20,000 worth of debt for you going to mean for your ability to support yourself in the future?
It would help go towards my other debts. So paying off my car, paying off some medical debt are the two most important things. And then, like I said earlier, my dream is to have a house, whether that be a rental property or just a house that I live in. That $20K off of my debt could help me definitely save for that a lot sooner than I would be able to now. Because I'm not even saving for that now. I literally can't. So that will definitely help me out.
Do people have a vision of those who go to college as being more privileged, whether it is, I remember when I went to college, I didn't feel privileged. I was living on ramen noodles, and, it's kind of felt like that's what you had to do if you wanted to have a decent future. Do you think that's still the attitude, or that people go to college are more privileged? Jimmy, I'll let you answer that one first.
To a certain extent, yes, privileged. I've sat on the Governor's Workforce and Economic Development Council for over 20 years now, and 2/3 of our students on the inner city do not go to college. And there's always been a great push for everybody to go to college, and not everybody is qualified either financially or emotionally or mentally for college. So I think that we really, when the student debt is higher than all of America's credit card debt, I think we really need to look back. As a lobbyist at the state capitol, I remember about 10 years ago when the legislature turned the right of raising tuitions over to the schools themselves, and then, as Karen mentioned, and started slowly defunding or not funding as much to higher ed. There's a bigger problem that's causing the student debt.
People have to take advantage of this. If they don't get it. They don't just get it automatically. Is that right, Karen?
There are a small, relatively speaking, about 8 million of the 43 million possible eligible borrowers. The department does already have their income information on file. So there will be some people who will get the forgiveness automatically. But most borrowers who are eligible will need to apply and let the Department of Education know that they qualify via the income standards. So I tell people that there will likely be an application process for you. The Department of Education has said that will be available in early October. And I'm sure when that is available, there will be a big splash and everybody will hear about it. There is a way on studentaid.gov, the federal website, that you can sign up for their notifications so that you can receive an email when that application is available in early October.
I'd like to thank all of you for joining us. It's great information for everybody to know. And I'd love to have you all back again sometime. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.